I'm Melissa Shanahan of the Shanahan Law Firm and Chair of the Walton County Chamber of Commerce Governmental Affairs Committee. We're pleased to host this political candidate forum tonight, allowing the citizens of Monroe to hear from candidates with opposition in the upcoming November 2nd election. In the November election, the mayoral and council district races with opposition for the city of Monroe include, for mayor, John Howard, the incumbent, and Emilio Kelly. District 3, Ross Bradley, the incumbent, and Charles Boyce. District 8, David Dickinson, the incumbent, and William Owens. The Chamber has contacted all candidates by phone and email. When we heard back from the opposing candidates that today's date was a conflict, we reached out with a mid-October date to see if that would work for them to attend. After 2 calls and 2 emails to each of the opposing candidates, we only heard back from one who had questions but never confirmed attendance for the new date. We made the decision to move forward with our original date of tonight, which is before early voting begins. Our timekeeper tonight is Carrie Rowe, Director of Membership and Events with the Walton County Chamber. Candidates, when you have 30 seconds left, Terry or Carrie will hold up a 30 sign for your 30-second warning, and then again a 10 for your 10-second warning. When your time is up, she will hold up a 0 sign. At that time, please finish your sentence and your time will end. Our format tonight, each candidate will have a 3-minute introduction. Following all introductions, we will ask the candidates pre-submitted questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. We will rotate the order of who answers the question first each time. Following the questions, each candidate will have a 2-minute closing, which can also be used for rebuttal if needed from another candidate's answer to the question or questions. Let's begin.
Thank you.
Introductions. You each have 3 minutes. John Howard.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Shanahan, for hosting tonight, and thank you to the Chamber for allowing us the opportunity. And for those of you who came, and for those of you who are watching, thank you for listening to us. I think you've heard each of us for the last 4 years. These are the 2 of the finest gentlemen I have ever met in my life, and they have going out of their way tonight, as they do on a very regular basis, to serve you. We are all in this mainly for our families. That's the reason I chose to run 4 years ago, and that's the reason I'm choosing to run again. This is a time-consuming position. I'm a father of 2, and I've been married for 24 years. We love this community. I grew up here, and the reason, some of the things that we have done that you need to understand only gets done with the backing of this council and my office would be downtown development, economic development, improvements to water and sewer, a reduction in crime by 10 to 20% over the last 3 years, repaving of roads, renovated wastewater treatment plant. The job's very time-consuming as well, because in my particular position, I'm on the Children's and Youth Advisory Council for the state. I'm on the Development Authority. I'm on the Walton County Chamber of Commerce. I am the mayor, and I have the opportunity to meet with our department heads and our city staff on a very, very regular basis. I love this town. The reason I'm doing this, I want my children back, and if we're not the cool place to be, it ain't happening. So here I am. And again, my name's John Howard. I'm the mayor, and I'm very proud to be here.
Thank you. District 3, Ross Bradley.
Thank you, Ms. Shanahan. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ross Bradley. I'm your District 3 City Council representative. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve the City of Monroe residents for the last 4 years. Having the opportunity to serve alongside the most caring and hardworking people here at City Hall and in our community is a humbling and gratifying experience that I will cherish forever. I've served Monroe in many different capacities during my 4-year term. Currently, I'm the City Council liaison to the Downtown Development Authority. I serve on the Airport Committee, the Parks Committee, and the Public Safety Committee. Serving in each of these capacities, I've seen numerous examples of what makes Monroe such a powerful and versatile city, and it's the people. It's all of you in the audience, everybody watching at home, all the folks that make the city turn. From the leadership in our city departments to the men and women running the small businesses that make up the heartbeat of our city, to the many families and individuals I see enjoying our parks and events. There's no doubt that we are living, and this is a nod to the mayor, in the greatest small town in America. When the pandemic hit early in 2020, it was a struggle for everyone, and I'm so proud of the tenacity and the resilience our community displayed over the last year and a half, not just to survive, but to thrive. There was one main thing that pushed me to run for this position 4 years ago, and it's the same thing that's driving my desires now. I want my children to grow up and choose to raise their families in Monroe. We as a community have a great responsibility to continue developing our city into a place that sets the standard for other communities around this nation. Thank you for trusting and supporting me over the last 4 years. It would be my honor to continue serving as your District 3 City Council representative for another 4. Thank you.
Thank you. District 8, David Dickinson.
Thank you, Ms. Shanahan. I'm David Dickinson, and I'm currently your District 8 representative. My wife, Rita, and I have lived in this community now for the entire 43 years that we've been married. We have raised our children here, our grandchildren here. We both have a very deep commitment to this community and to all of the people who live, work in this community. And when I was thinking about what my theme for this campaign this year would be, it's 3 things. It's character, it's courage, and it's commitment. And I try to align my life around 3 circles. The inner part of that circle is my faith. I'm a committed Christian. I try to live my life every day according to the values of my faith. I think that's essential for any person, and particularly for people who serve in public office. The second element is courage. You have to have the courage to stand up, to do the right thing when called upon, even if it sometimes isn't the most popular thing. I have committed my life to that principle. I will never depart from it. And finally, competence. You can have all the great ideas in the world, but if you don't have the competence to get those things accomplished, nothing comes of it. So those are the pillars of what I do. Someone once said that to those to whom much is given, much is expected. I've been very blessed in my life, blessed by this community. I've been a lawyer here now for some 36 years. The people of this city and this county have been very good to me. I've served thousands of people as a lawyer. I've served as a judge in the courts here. I've served as the mayor of this city. I remain committed every day of my life to helping every person in this city, whether you're rich, poor, black, white, male, female, whatever. I promise you, you'll always get my very best effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll begin with the questions. You'll each have 1 minute to answer each question. Question 1, what type of better quality of life initiatives do you propose in Monroe, and how would you pay for these initiatives? Mr. Howard?
Well, it's obviously a fairly easy question for me to answer. My focus since I became mayor has been on our parks. We've had renovations at Pilot. We have renovations ongoing at Matthews. We've taken a 123-acre proposed park called Reliant River Park that has been gifted to us from a friend of the city. We are reimagining, rebranding Hammond Park as well. So if you have quality of life issues revolve around places to work, places to play, places to shop, places to live. We're focused on every single bit of that equation.
Thank you. Mr. Bradley?
Thank you, Ms. Shanahan. I imagine there's probably going to be a lot of redundant answers throughout this since we've all worked in such close capacity. But one of the things that I've also been very passionate about is our park system. And we could see that really come to life during the pandemic with schools shut down, people being stuck to staying inside their home. That as the parks were coming online and becoming more popular, folks were able to get outside and it's been really fun to watch community come together. Folks who may not have crossed paths in other realms who are now utilizing our park system, and just loving each other well. It's so much fun when we take our kids out. And, you know, to me, that's something that's extremely important. One other thing that is not necessarily a quality of life thing for everyone, but more for folks that want to do business here, is that we made it a very streamlined process to open up a business in Monroe. And I think that that is something that lends itself to a thriving downtown and a thriving community.
Thank you. Mr. Dickinson?
Well, I just want to amplify a little bit on what Ross was saying. I'm really big on economic development because I think that is the heart of what makes all of these other things possible. And as we move forward with the parks and the green space down there at Madison and Church and all of these developments, we've got to keep our economy strong. We've got to have jobs for our people. We've got to keep the tax dollars in this community. 4 years ago, I promised folks I would bring you a major chain grocery store that's coming up on the north side. It's Publix. That's going to keep millions of sales tax dollars in our community. I think that's absolutely critical.
Thank you. Question 2, what do you see as the #1 issue facing the city of Monroe over the next 3 to 5 years, and how would you work to address it as mayor or council member? Mr. Bradley?
To me, I see the #1 issue facing Monroe is also probably one of our biggest opportunities, and that is the growth that is heading our direction, has been for a long time. I think the most important thing that we can do is to facilitate that growth, and the way we do that is with patience. It's easy when everybody wants to be here and opening businesses to get inundated in just the grandeur of the allure of people wanting to come and open things here. And I think the one thing that we need to do now is exercise that patience so that we can actually create a city that is well thought out and continues to prosper.
Thank you. Mr. Dickinson?
I agree with Ross. We must have a coherent plan for how we're going to deal with the growth over the next several years, and we're working on that. As a matter of fact, tomorrow evening at 5:30, the committee that's in charge of that, I'm a member of it, will be meeting in this very chamber to discuss moving forward with what is essentially a 5-year plan for the growth. One of the things I think we do have to address is, in my opinion, we've got an undersized police department. We've got to do something to increase the size of that department as the city increases in size and population. And I am committed to securing the funding to get more officers to make sure that all of our citizens remain safe.
Thank you. Mr. Howard?
We do have a 5-year strategic plan that we submit to Department of Community Affairs that we update, obviously on a very regular basis, 5 years specifically, but we're also taking it one step further, and I believe that's the meeting David's talking about for tomorrow night. The focus with being the #1 downtown in the state, being Georgia Exceptional Main Street, to have these great events. We're very female-dominant ownership in our businesses downtown. This is the place folks want to be. And if we can keep the growth slow, planned, that's a much better route to take than to just let any builder, any developer do whatever he or she wants. So we are going to stay focused on our plan, and we're also going to stay tight on our builder controls.
Thank you. Question 3, how do you view your role as mayor or city council member within the city's overall structure of government? Mr. Dickinson?
Well, that's pretty simple. The way it works is the mayor is the executive head of the city council is the legislative body. So it is our task as council members to develop strategies, to present the motions. They'd be called bills, I guess, if it was the state or the national government. So that's our role. And then to support the mayor and the city staff in implementing the policies that we develop.
Mr. Howard?
David just gave a textbook description. I'll also say that my job, no matter how not pretty this face is, I'm the #1 cheerleader for this city. There's not going to be a person out here who does not know the love and the dedication that each of us on council and in the mayor's office has for the city of Monroe.
Mr. Bradley?
I think my role as a council member is very simple on its face. I get to, like Dave was saying, be a part of this body that gets to make decisions on how the city's going to move forward. But we also get to serve in a role that supports our team here at City Hall to execute all those different ideas. And most importantly, we get to be an ear for the community in order to help citizens achieve whatever it is they want to achieve.
Thank you. Question 4.
Is
Yes, sir.
this on? Can you hear that better? Can you hear this better, Charlie? All right, thank you.
There's a seat up here. Would you like to come up here?
Thank you, sorry about that.
Question 4. Please provide examples of how you have contributed and plan to continue to contribute to the city of Monroe to make it a better place to live, work, and play. Mr. Howard?
Well, start with the list. Thriving downtown businesses. We're renovating every single park in town. We're paving our roads at about 10% a year. We're redoing our wastewater treatment plant. At the moment, we're running fiber to every home in town. We have new water and sewer projects that are ongoing. We're running gas to Morgan County that will bring in revenue to the city. We're running 1 million gallons a day to the city of Loganville that will also bring in revenue to the city. So in my entire life, we have never had as many projects going at the same time as we do right now, and every single one is meant to benefit every man, woman, and child in the city. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bradley?
Would you mind restating the question one time, please?
Sure. Please provide examples of how you have contributed and plan to continue to contribute to the city of Monroe to make it a better place to live, work, and play.
Well, as most folks know, as a private citizen, I brought Yorpie to downtown Monroe. It was something that I did as my career. Now, having a family here in town and a different job, I plan to continue supporting and growing Monroe by supporting all the folks out there who are doing all the hard work and the heavy lifting, and developing downtown and this entire city to be a great place to live.
Thank you. Mr. Dickinson?
Well, I have a pretty long resume, so rather than bore you with all that, just go to my website, which is David for Monroe, and check it out. You can read all that for yourselves. I do want to talk just a minute about the fiber optic network and how important that is. 4 years ago, I committed to the citizens of this community that we would upgrade our internet. We've been using coaxial cable since we started that process way back when I was mayor. Fiber optic is much better. As you know, it's like a glass plastic fiber. It has far higher speed and far greater bandwidth. So that makes it possible to not only enjoy entertainment through streaming, but if you're a person who's working from home, trying to do things from home, you're now going to have an internet service in the city of Monroe that's as good as anywhere in the state of Georgia. So, very proud of that.
Thank you. Question 5. How will you work to make Monroe's growth more inclusive, racially, economically, and religiously? Mr. Bradley?
That's an interesting question. It's a hard one to answer. My stance on this is that, and has been, that there's not much that can, in my opinion, that can be done from a government body, to change hearts and minds. That's got to happen out in the community. So for myself, I can commit myself and my family to growing relationships, breaking bread with families in the community, just to be an example that the world is not as bad as we sometimes see on TV, and that people are still very forgiving and loving. And so, I think that's about all I can say for that.
Thank you. Mr. Dickinson.
Well, I think that goes back to what I said at a council meeting recently. I've spent a lifetime dedicated to the principles of equality and inclusion. We'll never back off of that. We have a lot of divides still in this community, and I think the fundamental first step is to admit that we have those divides and those problems, and sit down together, discuss them, and come up with rational ways to move forward, rather than people moving off in corners and saying really negative, hurtful things about each other that accomplishes nothing. So we've got to work together, and I'm very committed to that.
Mr. Howard.
I agree with both these gentlemen. We know we have some issues, but to be more inclusive, look at our community. We're very, very patriotic. We're very faith-based. We're very accepting of all walks of life. And the best thing that we can do as a council is to provide infrastructure improvements, to provide improvements to our physical infrastructure that will be inviting to all, man, woman, child, straight, gay, white, black, Hispanic. It really doesn't matter to me. If you're coming to help improve Monroe, I want you here. This is not about a color, not about a sexual preference, not about any lifestyle. This is about the betterment long-term of the city of Monroe. If you're coming to improve us, we want you here.
Thank you. Last question. What are your ideas to address the affordable housing shortage in the city of Monroe? Mr. Dickinson.
Well, okay, that's a great question. And it's a difficult question. There is no soundbite answer to that, but this is what I think is the best way forward on it. First, you have to define what is affordable housing. Second, I'm very much a proponent of utilizing the private sector and faith-based organizations to accomplish that. A long, long time ago, I was one of the people who set up the original Walton County Habitat for Humanity. I did the incorporation for it. A few years ago, I incorporated Hope Monroe, which tries to accomplish the same thing. Those two organizations are now working together in Monroe and Walton County. What I envision is using the city's what we call the overlay district. That would allow us to build some small subdivisions, 6 to 10 houses that are habitat houses that are quality, look good, and it doesn't solve the problem completely, but it's a good start.
Thank you. Mr. Howard.
As you may know, Habitat is getting ready to start their first home. They were supposed to start on Saturday, and that got backed up due to COVID, like a lot of things have over the last year or so. But I do want to remind folks, we have lost a few homes and a few residents due to safety hazards over the last 4 years, but we also just opened a 74-unit apartment complex that is low-income tax-assisted. We have 9 federal housing projects in the city of Monroe. We, as a matter of fact, have more affordable housing than we know what to do with. It's the quality of those affordable houses that we really need to work on. That's not a government fix, although our code department can be used to assist. We started 4 years ago, again, addressing blight in neighborhoods, and as we have moved forward, some of those homes have come down, but some have been updated, improved. The issue is once they're updated, improved, or purchased and repaired, excuse me, I see I have 0 seconds left, but I need this.
You can use your closing time to finish.
And I might do that in a moment, but when we sell when a house is sold and it's not up to code, what's happening is it is getting improvements and then it becomes not affordable again. So this is going to be something that we have to work with the developers on.
Mr. Bradley.
It's almost a loaded question at this point in time with the way material pricing has shot up with inflation, everything around it. But one thing that the Downtown Development Authority has done very effectively is our infill development and trying to look at ways to kind of break the mold of what's traditionally been done. And so for me, I see in the future, in some capacity, way or form in Monroe, smaller footprints of houses with smaller lots, because, you know, most folks in the younger generations are caring less about formal dining rooms and more about getting outside, going to restaurants, all that good stuff. And so I think it's going to take some time for us to recalibrate the way we think about housing in general. Affordable, you know, there is a way to calculate it in a technical sense, but I think that just a different type of housing, something that, I don't know if state-of-the-art is the right word, but more simple, is definitely going to be the move forward.
Thank you. Now you can each give a 2-minute closing remark. We'll start with District 8, Mr. Dickinson.
Thank you. I'm going to stop talking about myself for just a minute in the closing, and I'll just tell you this. Get you one of these. It has the website on it. It has the QR code on the back that'll take you directly to the website. There's a lot of good information on there, but I want to address the elephant in the room. As you can see, the fellow who's running against me didn't bother to show up tonight, and I have to comment on that. Rule number 1 in life is you got to show up. You got to be counted. And if you don't care enough about this position and this city and its people to even show up and say anything, then I don't think you need to be elected to the seat. I always show up, win, lose, or draw. And I will always show up for the people in this city, win, lose, or draw. And I challenge Mr. Owens. I will debate him anywhere, anytime. And I'll leave you with this, just bluntly. He is a disgruntled ex-city employee. He was a fire chief who was terminated for cause. And he's mad about it. He's suing the city in a federal lawsuit that, in my opinion, is totally frivolous, but it eats up time and money. And now he says, well, I want to be a city council member, I guess, so he can sue himself. It's absurd. He needs to come out of hiding. He needs to stop hiding behind his handler, and he needs to address these issues head on. Anywhere, anytime, bring it on, Bill.
District 3, Mr. Bradley.
A little bit different message here in my closing argument, but I don't disagree. God made it very clear to me that I have one purpose in this life, and that is to love people well. And I think it really is that simple for all of us. That's how I've carried myself in these last 4 years in this position, and I remain committed to that posture as I continue to lead the city and with the rest of this body. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Howard.
Thank you again for hosting, Ms. Shanahan, and thank you for coming, and thank you for watching. For those who've chosen to spend the last 30 or 45 minutes with us, I love this town, and that's why I ran, that's why each of us is running, and that's why each of us has shown up tonight, has shown up 24 nights a year out of the last 4 years. None of us has a boss that tells us whether or not we may show up to a meeting. We spend a lot of time serving the city of Monroe. We are in a more enviable position than just about any other town in the state. We are financially successful at the moment. Our parks are better than they've been in my lifetime. Our infrastructure is better than it's been in my lifetime and improving. We have a group of young, like-minded professionals who've moved into the area, who have started businesses, who have started redevelopment projects, who also believe in that future vision of that we all do share for the city. We're here to make things better. We want to make things better for the wealthy and the poor. We want to make things better for the gay and the straight. We want children, men, women, black, white, gay, straight, Latino, everybody in this city. We want to help make this a more accessible place, a more enjoyable place to raise their families. And we also have the byproduct of luck that is, we now have a top 10 hospital in the state. We're now one of the top school systems in the country. So that goes hand in hand with all of our infrastructures, doings, our faith-based community, our patriotic community, our veterans. Charlie, I'm glad you came and brought your sweet bride. This is a synergistic approach, and it's one piece of a puzzle that allows us to serve you better. And we're just, we as a whole are pleased that we've been given the opportunity, and we are all asking for 4 more years.
Thank you, candidates. Just a reminder, early voting begins October 12th, Election Day is November 2nd, and our forum is concluded.
Thank you.